Welcome to Entrepreneurship 101 by Alana of Western Carolina University, presenting at Drink and Draw in the venue of Imurj. Today's list of contents, what we will be going over today, will be entrepreneurship, what is a venture, and an overview of my personal venture. Then we will discuss the value of a founding team and the seat positions available to be filled. We will proceed with marketing recommendations and the 7 fundamentals of investors. What is entrepreneurship? According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, an entrepreneur is one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risks of a business or an enterprise. So seeing as I could not find the definition of the word entrepreneurship, it gave me the word for entrepreneur, and entrepreneurship is an expounded conjugated term of entrepreneur, as in entrepreneurship is the state of being an entrepreneur. So what is a venture? And here is my elevator pitch for the Phoenix Academy.
Gracious greetings. I introduce myself as Alana and I have a dream, a circus dream. My dream is to include circus into our realm of university majors. This process will begin with a training studio. The Phoenix Academy will offer circus artists a place to train that will evolve into a location that offers certifications. It will then ultimately offer circus majors and become a university. There will be concentrations in particular skills. About 2 years ago, a friend asked me what she should select as a major since she was going back to school. I was stumped and ultimately concluded that since there was no circus majors, that theater was the closest major she could get to the pursuit of our circus love. The Phoenix Academy will be the answer to her and many other circus artists' inquiry as to where they should go to be validated as a professional within their skill set. Thank you.
So that was my elevator pitch of the Phoenix Academy, and I feel like that's fairly concise, and let me know if you have any questions. So the founding team and its value. An entrepreneur is nothing without his or her team. I realized this during my first venture, where I tried to work with some individuals who were trying to create an evolution within our society, within our community, which is expanded into our society, whatever. Basically, I won a $15,000 award for this theoretical, hypothetical company, and I earned all this money for this group of people, and it got wasted, and it was ineffective, and it didn't really help to manage the creation of the business like I thought it would be put toward. It wasn't, and ultimately the venture crashed and burned because the founding team was incapable of following through with their intention. So I experienced that failure, and investors really want to look at an entrepreneur that has a history of knowing what they're doing rather than like a new entrepreneur that is totally clueless and could very well fail because they have never tried. So they're just like going to fail because they don't have any experience to show them how to succeed. So I think that gives me more value for investors because I've failed. It provides evidence that I know how to not fail, so I'm more likely to succeed. And anyway, the founding team is ultimately why I failed. So that I won that grant But honestly, if the investors had analyzed the group of people that I was working with, they wouldn't have given me that because the people I was working with basically just, they sucked. Anyway, so we're all supposed to have varying human, social, and financial capital to avoid overlapping our skills and the people we're working with and involved with. And we have human capital, which is essentially varying education, experience, and skills. And then social capital is like who you know, not what you know. Financial capital is, of course, the monies to manifest the company venture of choice. And I repeat, the team is the most necessary aspect about what makes a company possible and flourish, because without the founding team, the entrepreneur is basically nothing. Like, obviously I've failed, and I'm just an entrepreneur that tried to succeed, but I didn't have the backing of the founding team, so I failed. So within the founding team, there should be a C-suite, which would be like chief roles, so officials that are the most dominant in their area. So obviously the CEO is the executive role and is more than likely the founder, at least until the investors control who is in control. Then we have second in the pyramid, Chief of Operations Officer. Essentially, they're kind of under the executive because obviously the executive has the final say, but the operations officer manages all the other functions that are going on, such as the other officers, which are the financial, technology, and marketing, and security officers. And the operations officer manages all of them. So the COO reports to the CEO, and the CFO, CTO, and CMO and CSO report to the COO or the CEO if there's no CEO or if there's no COO. So then there's the marketing section of this PowerPoint. So according to Marketing for Dummies, Understanding Michael Porter, and Duct Tape Marketing, these include identifying your target market and how to receive business from your ideal client. It is necessary to present your business's value proposition while to compete with the alternatives, and your value proposition should identify or establish your unique qualities and the way you run differently from everybody else. And you should also create an elevator pitch, which would later become an extended pitch, which is used to demonstrate to investors and entice them and convince them to invest in you. And your team, of course. You need to adopt an identity with logo so that you can promote your company and have like an image that signifies your company specifically. And you should also have a marketing activities calendar, which is parallel with the strategic media plan, or vice versa, or both ways, whatever. And then you need to analyze your own company using 4 methodologies: the SWOT, PEST, 5 forces, and the value chain. The SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The PEST is political, economical, socio-cultural, and technological. And I forgot what the 5 forces in the value chain are, as we were. So the 7 fundamentals that investors consider begin with sourcing, which is how they find the options for entrepreneurial ventures. Entrepreneurial ventures. And then they need to evaluate what the best option for them, what is the most compatible. So they need to evaluate the options in order to select the most compatible option for them. Essentially, the investor and the entrepreneur need to be compatible enough to work together for a few years at least. And then the valuing, which is investors deciding how much the company is worth now and how much it will be worth later. The structuring is how the deal is constructed between the entrepreneur and investor, and this honestly has a lot of impact later on in the process, mostly in the harvesting section. So there's a lot of different ways to structure, but we're not going to get into that right now. And then we have the negotiation, which honestly I think negotiation should be involved in most of it. The investor needs to know how to communicate with the entrepreneur. Specifically, it's regarding the deal structure of structuring step. And then what ways can the investors support the entrepreneur in order to achieve success? So that's fundamental, is called supporting. And then, of course, the harvesting, which would be how the investor regains his or her investment in the company. So how do they make their money back, basically? So do we have any questions? I really appreciate that you've taken the time to allow me to present, even though you already had an event that you're trying to participate in. I really need to get this presentation done, so I am very grateful to this venue of Imurj, and I really appreciate all of you individuals that are here. So are there any questions? Show who you are, and it will be a convincing factor as to why the investors may or may not want to invest in you. So because I was the only person providing insight into our intention with this company, they gave me the grants. So I actually won $15,000 for this company, and the founding team is so important because they never asked about my founding team. Basically, I was like the diamond gem on top of this pile of coal because these people were thinking, they were thoughtful in the way that they wanted to do something good, but they were just unfit for that, and it ultimately crashed and burned. So that was unfortunate, but that's it's a good learning experience, and actually a lot of investors want to see that an individual has failed before because it shows that they know something about what not to do. So it's basically like the entrepreneur is able to do good because they did bad. It's a contradiction, but it's true. So the founding team is a group of people that agreed that they should work together in order to manifest the venture of choice.